co-host Dr. Sunanda Samatharado. Dr. John Telford is a former Detroit Public School superintendent, a world-class athlete, conqueror of Olympic champions, a championship track coach, poet, newspaper columnist, longtime civil rights crusader, and author of 7 books, Creative Insubordination, What Old Men Know, The Will Robinson Story, The Poetic Prancings of Mad John, The Poet Emperor of Earth, and his explosive autobiography, A Life on the Run, plus another upcoming poetry book, Athletes, Activism, and Apple Boughs, a Detroit poetic epic. His books are available on Amazon.com or just by calling the Good Doctor at 313-460-8272. That's 313-460-8272. Dr. John Telford has been called a legend and also a lightning rod for controversy, a recipient of the City Council's Spirit of Detroit Award and the Joe Louis Foundation Spirit of the Champ Award. He was named Wayne State University's Alumnus of the Year, and a Detroit tract has been named for him. His email address is drjohntelford@aol.com. That's Johntelford@aol.com. Dr. Telford also has a show on WCHB AM 1340 that airs on Saturdays at 9:30 in the morning and Mondays at 6:30 in the evening. That's on WCHB AM 1340, Saturdays at 9:30 and Mondays at 6:30. And now, without further ado, I present to you that old native Detroiter, the one and only Dr. John Telford.
Thank you, Dr. Sunanda Corrado, that PhD from Columbia University, who is an anthropologist by training. Dr. Corrado has been teaching at Wayne County Community College for this past 10 years. And look at her. She looks like she's about 17 years old. So how can that be? And Dr. Corrado is a researcher for the Detroit Equity Action Lab, which is housed in the at Wayne State University in the law school. And Dr. Corrado is the founder and CEO of Education by Design. My name is Detroit. I'm a blue-collar town. Blue salt melts my mid-March snow. Speedy cars and sprinters spring from me. I father fierce fighters and funky music. In a Motown moment, I can spit the blues right back in a bureaucrat's eye. Have you never seen blue salt? No complex chemistry here, only the old color of a new sky. And there's a new sky dawning today because we have Dr. Willie White. Today, we're interviewing him, a remote interview. We're interviewing Dr. Willie White, who is the principal of the Frederick Douglass Academy over on West Warren Avenue, where, by the way, I am team teaching with Mrs. Kyria Gore, a master teacher, in a poetry class. It's actually in an English class, but I come there 3 hours a month and teach poetry. And, you know, I've got some really good news. that I'm going to share with you about what those kids are writing. But first, there are a couple of things that a little bit of housekeeping I got to do. Number one, make sure you get a hold of a downtown monitor again, because I'm in it again. You know, the Poet's Corner. I'm the DPSCD poet in residence, and I've got a poem in there about Sugar Ray Robinson. It's called Detroit's Sugar, Pound for Pound. I'm trying to do
nice.
So it's on the stands right now. You know, get a downtown monitor. I'm trying to acquaint folks with some of the historical figures in Detroit's history. And Sugar Ray Robinson, of course, was one of them. He was probably the greatest fighter, pound for pound, who ever lived. So get a downtown monitor if you will. And I also I promised Ida Short, who is one of the board members who appointed me superintendent back in 2012. She wants me to mention that what's happening to Black Eden's Casablanca Hotel in Idlewild, Michigan. The 35-room Casablanca Hotel in Idlewild, Michigan, was built in 1950 and it lay vacant. It lay vacant for over 40 years, and it's currently in the early stages of being restored. The Casablanca and Idlewild, Michigan, were havens for African Americans in the early to mid 20th century. And due to segregation, Idlewild was established in 1915 within Manistee National Forest of rural Michigan. So there are some educators whose vision for the not for profit hotel includes a museum and housing for veterans and a transformative educational and training center for youth and the community. So I'm going to be bringing Dr. Ida Short, who was a board member when we had the good board that appointed me superintendent back in 2012. Sunanda and I will be bringing her on this show. I haven't set a date yet for that, but we'll be doing it.
I know a lot of universities who have African American studies departments. A lot of those professors are very much invested in Idlewild throughout their careers. I know that would be a great space for retreats for Black leadership.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This is a very, very important project. It's not just a hotel.
Oh, that's absolutely true. And we're going to be talking more about that on another show. But I want to get to Dr. Willie White as soon as possible. But I also have to mention that if someone asks you to sign a petition advancing two measures, the Michigan Student Opportunity Program Initiative and the Michigan Tax Credit for Student Opportunity Scholarship Contributions Initiative, do not sign it. Don't sign it. It is Betsy DeVos's thinly veiled scheme to advance the privatization of our public education. It's a thinly veiled voucher program, which the people won't get the chance to even vote against. And I'm going to be talking more about that too, to make sure that folks do not sign that program. Okay, I got a couple other things that I need to say, but I'll say it, at commercial time or whatever, because we've got Dr. Willie White, who is the principal of the Frederick Douglass Academy, in the show today. And welcome to the show, Dr. White. We're so happy to have you on the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be a part of the show.
Yeah, we were gonna have your immediate supervisor, Claude Tiller. My man Claude Tiller, on the show today.
Dr. Tiller, yeah.
Everybody forgot that today is count day. Today is count day.
Yeah, so we're so grateful that you can make the time.
Yeah, he was in a he's in a cabinet meeting. He's probably in a cabinet meeting right now because it's 10:06. So there wasn't any way he was going to come in person, but there's no way he could either come in person or even do it, on the Zoom thing because he had to be in this cabinet meeting because it's count day.
Like the first couple of times I went in with you when you did your poetry, I was struck because, number one, Frederick Douglass is an all-boys academy, but you were teaching in their AP classes. Yeah, in the 11th grade AP.
I don't know whether that's an AP class or not. Willie would know.
Yeah,
Dr. White would know.
I just want to take my hat off to you for running an all-boys academy that offers AP when so many public schools are not giving those AP classes or those challenges for students to be able to rise and go to schools of their own choice. And then at that time, we came into it was some kind of what do you call it? Not a meeting. I'm missing my vocabulary right now. But I was kind of wondering, could you tell us a little bit about how you know Dr. Telford and why you thought he would be a good experience for the boys at Frederick Douglass? Like, what's that fit?
Well, Dr. Telford, I've known Dr. Telford for a while. We know of his academic and his athletic accolades. And most of all, the most important thing I think about him is besides being an academician, is his true love for the city of Detroit and the residents. And his show broadcasts to the grassroots community. And it will greatly illumine the uniqueness of the benefits of attending Frederick Douglass. And so he's a legend, and everyone knows who Dr. Telford is, from the person that's standing outside at a CVS to the governor. Everyone knows who Dr. Telford is. All you have to do is slide down Jefferson and you see his picture up.
That's right.
On Jefferson. And, he just his genuine love for the residents and the community of Detroit.
And you know that that billboard on Jefferson doesn't advertise WJZZ. It's advertising my other show on WCHB AM 1340. And you know, I've done that show for years. In fact, I did it when it was on when it was AM 1200. But what I found during the COVID was I didn't want to go in and do the show at the station. So I did it from my phone. You know, I did it from my phone, and that made it hard to take callers. So I didn't take any callers. And what happened as a result was my ratings went through the roof. And even when the COVID's over now, I think I'm just going to not take callers on that phone. I'll take callers and on that show, WCHB. I'll take callers on this show, WJZZ.
You know what's so funny about that AP class too is that because
at Douglas, you're talking about Douglas.
At Douglas. Because Dr. Telford's a world-class athlete, so of course he went around and he scanned the room and he asked students questions, and they are all extremely involved in organized sports. I think there might have been one or two students who wasn't in the AP class who was also in organized sports. And
as a matter of fact, Dr. White, didn't your kids win the basketball state championship in Class D?
Yes, we won the state championship this past year. We were the first champion of this DPSCD schools.
Nice.
King ended up winning the football, but that was after us. We won the basketball last April, and it was the first one for Frederick Douglass in its 25-year school history.
That's incredible. And King won the football too in Class A. So that's
King won the football championship.
That's right.
And you won this title with how many enrolled in your school?
Well, last year at that time we had 70. Right now we're at 66.
We got to get school up to a couple hundred. We got to get that school up to a couple hundred because that school has got a mission. We're going to be talking about that mission. But right now, I think we got to do a commercial. We got to do a commercial.
Oh, yes. And you're watching the John Telford Detroit Show, coming to you live, streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Please like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe to us and other various programs offered here at the station. And thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. And today we are interviewing Dr. Willie White, principal of Frederick Douglass Academy, an all-boys school that is growing in reputation and is growing in opportunities for our boys in this city.
And Dr. White, I have a question to ask you regarding Frederick Douglass. It's kind of a unique experience, and I'm aware of that. But what is the benefit to having this type of experience?
Okay, from the first day of school, Frederick Douglass students are encouraged to think critically, engage analytically, and express themselves creatively in order to become lifelong learners. And not dependent on textbooks and teachers. Students learn that they can think for themselves using a range of tools and strategies. Our students are active learners, supported by our curriculum and teaching staff. This academic journey begins and is supported for families to understand that this is what makes us unique. With incoming ninth graders participating in our 2-day GIS summer camp that kicks off our 4-year GIS pathway.
Could you break down what GIS means for the audience, please, Dr. White?
Well, GIS is Geographic Information Systems. And what it is an integration of where you use technology with topography and geography. Most people use GIS, but they use a micro aspect of it called GPS. And GPS is Global Positioning Systems. So our students use this technology, and we have a joint program with Eastern Michigan where they can receive a GIS certificate upon completion of certain course completions. And the students, what you have, I'll give you a prime example. Another prime macro aspect of it is the Detroit Police Department blue light system. They use GPS where you use cameras, survey, drones, things of that nature. And students you can make decisions based on demographics with this particular system of technology.
That sounds great. And of course, I got to ask this. What makes Douglas truly unique, and why should families know about this school? Why should they?
Well, the uniqueness of us is that we're the only all that is tuition free in the state of Michigan, which means you don't have to pay to come to Frederick Douglass. Now, we are an application school, and being an application school, you have to apply. It's rigorous. All our students will take or be exposed to an AP course. As we noted before, they'll be exposed to AP, dual enrollment, or career pathway that I just spoke of, GPI, GIS. But for the most part, all of the students have all three of them. They'll get dual enrollment, but sometimes we have particular students that come that can't meet the criteria or their academics or may not have the cognitive skills, but we will expose them to them and they will have the opportunity to participate, but they may not be able to do all of them. We have a great deal of students who can do all three, the dual enrollment, the career pathway, and participate, like you said before, in the sports as well. So the uniqueness of it is that we're trying to teach that applied science of GIS. And the uniqueness is that it's an all-male academy that's tuition free. And it involves just an interview with our committee. And we're committed to one of the major prongs that we have on admittance of being admitted to Douglass is that your attendance is well, that you attend school, because we can't service you if you don't come to school. And one of our motto is when we're around each other is that we often hear students or schools say, they speak edu-speak and they'll say, meet you where you are. Well, at Douglass, we meet you where you are, but we don't leave you there. Our goal is not to leave you there. So that's what we work on there. And I think we're doing a great job doing that with our young men.
Talk about this committee. What's this committee about? You said is there an interviewing committee for potential students or what? How's that done?
Yes. We have our dean of student. He first interviews them, and that's Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis interviewed the students, and then he brings that to the committee.
Mr. Davis? What is Mr. Davis's first name? What's his full name?
Lawrence Davis. Davis.
Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Lawrence Davis. And Mr. Davis interviews the young men and the parents, and he looks at their transcript. And listen, a lot of times we have young men that come and they're behind. It's not often that it's more common. Unless they come to us in the 9th grade, when a student wants to transfer to us, they're most of the time behind a year or so, and we graduate them. When I first got to Douglass, our graduation rate was in the 50s, and now we're up to 80%. We graduate at 80%. And let me explain something to you about that 80%. Actually, we're at 98%, but the state of Michigan does not count our ASD population because we have a population of autistic children. And because our numbers are so low, that they're not counted as graduates, they're counted as certificates of completion. And because our numbers is where they are, because our numbers are where they are.
We can hear you.
Okay, because our numbers are where they are in the denominator, that has a profound effect on us. Like, for instance, if I have 20 graduates and 4 of them are ASD, that count as a non-graduate. But our dropout rate, if by school data, you'll see that we're less than 5%. We had 100% no dropout rate the year before last.
That is really super. And this is an application school.
Yes.
So
obviously, it's not just based on being the best student. What turns your attention to the applicant? What is it about the applicant, the qualities in the student that you're looking for to make them Frederick Douglass material?
I'm going to be quite honest with you. The main thing we look at is their attendance, because we figure we can work with anyone. But at school, like I said, we can't meet you where you are and take you from where you are and you there. So our main thing is we want to see your attendance. We've had students who come with us, and we dealt with discipline issues. We dealt with, as I noted before, the students that have operating from academic deficits, and we graduate them. But we can't do that if you're not committed. We need that commitment. We need the commitment of you showing up And also, I think it's important to note that we wear suit and tie. Well, not necessarily suit and tie. We wear shirt and tie. Today is count day, so they're allowed to wear a polo shirt like the one I have on. And they're allowed to wear some gym shoes, bully jeans, and things of nature because we're teaching structure and discipline. And it takes a lot to discipline yourself. So when you discipline yourself, you're capable of being disciplined in all other endeavors. So that tie that's required is a uniform. And I tell them all the time, I don't feel like wearing my tie all the time. But so a polo to them is an incentive. On Fridays, we wear polos as well. But nevertheless, what I'm saying as it relates to that child not all being an academic, we just need you to come to school, and we need the parents to be committed as well. And those are the things we ask the parents too, that when we call you, because the parents have our numbers. They have the dean number, they have the assistant principal number, and they can contact. We're like a family environment. They have our attendance agent. We do drive-bys. If your attendance is bad, my attendance agent will go to your house. He'll go to your church. He shows up. We all show up. And so because it's so small, I know we don't have skipping in the school. That's just non-existent. So those are some of the things we work on. Yes.
Yeah. And, I was impressed with your assistant principal too, Mr. Lawrence Fitz, I believe.
Yes.
Because, he was taking my newspaper columns and sharing them with the whole school. I really appreciated him doing that. But I want to get back to the question of application. You're an application school, so how do parents and students out in the community know how to apply? I mean, is it being publicized enough so that we have many applications, maybe more than you can even handle? That's what needs to happen, in my view.
Well, the way the application system now is, you have to go to the district's website, and you have to go to the district website in order to apply. But it's not uncommon for parents to come up to the school. Most of the time, the people who've been getting, I think we have a website, and you can visit at DetroitK12.org /enroll.
Say that again.
DetroitK12.org /enroll. And when you look on there, you'll see the application process. But some parents are diligent; they'll actually show up, and we help them. We help them fill out the application. Sometimes they say, "Look, they got all these different schools. How do I enroll here?" And Miss Williams, Glovetta Williams, will assist them. That's one of the clericals in the front, because we have a parent room.
What is her name?
Miss Glovetta Williams.
Okay.
And we have a parent room, our parent room where they can use the computers, and they have their own computers where we'll assist the parents in the event they don't have the technology at home.
Now, can they call the school directly to find out how to enroll?
Yes. We have parents call the school directly as well.
What is the number of the school?
240-4377. That's one of the numbers.
Okay, say it again. Say it again.
240-4377. That's 313 area code.
240-4737. 4737. Right?
240-4377.
240-4377. 240-4377. Because Dr. White, I'm going to circulate this. A lot of people are going to be seeing this show. Number one, it's on internet television, but number two, I've got a few thousand email contacts that are going to be seeing this show. And
can I give you the other one to my to our direct clerical as well?
Yeah. What is it?
595-3550.
595-3550.
Yes, 313 area code.
550. And does the district host any coordinated open houses so the public gets to know the different schools, how to visit them? Does the district organize it, or during COVID, do you have any open houses? Or how a lot of school systems have open houses? Parents kind of come through, check out the school, the teachers. Do we have that?
Yes, the district has them 2 times a year, the beginning of the year, and we're going to have one now. And we'll have it posted on our website soon, the Douglas website. And if you want Douglas website, you can go to our website at detroitk12.org/Douglas, and that's with 2 S's, Douglass, because some people spell it with 1 S.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, just what was the day before yesterday, I came back to teach, after the break because of the weather. And I was very, very pleased. I've got to tell you, I was going to tell you this earlier in the program, but I almost couldn't believe it. I'm team teaching with Curia Gore, Mrs. Curia Gore, who's married to Tim Gore, who used to be a starting forward for Michigan State and was a moonlighted as a cop when he was with me at Finney High School when I was administrator there a few years ago. But the young men came up with some poetry that I had asked them to do it the last time I saw them, but I didn't think they were going to do it this well. And they actually were reciting poetry that was quality poetry. So I was very pleasantly surprised. And at some point, we're going to have some of those kids do poems on this show. That's what we're going to do, because I was really, really, really pleased with that. And the amazing thing about it is, I had to be shamed into going to Frederick Douglass, because for the past 3 years I was at Southeastern, which was that was my home school years ago. I coached state champions there in track. I taught there, back in the early 1960s. And when I was told that I wasn't going to be going to Southeastern, I was going to go to Frederick Douglass, I almost decided, well, I'm just going to go to all the high schools and do my poetry, and I'm not going to teach anymore a class. But then one of my students from Southeastern, named Emmett Muckles, who was a brilliant student back in 1960, got wind of the fact I wasn't going to Douglass. And he called me and he said, Doc, you got to go to Douglass, because those kids you'll have the same effect on those kids that you had on me, 65 years ago. And so I reconsidered and I went to Douglass, and I am very glad that I did, because that's just a wonderful school. We've got to get the word out about this school, because you don't want to have 60 kids there. You want to have 600 kids there if there's a way we could do it, but at least 200. We've got to make sure that school gets the kind of exposure that it deserves to get. And I'm going to help doing that right here, and I'm going to help doing it on WCH.
If we just get the applications in, if people just know about Douglass and what it could do for its kids.
Yes.
Now, I know you've got a long storied history in education. Could you tell us a little bit about working just with boys? Is it easier? Is it different? Is it just a different flavor?
Well, before he answers that, I got to say, I did not want to work just with boys, because I have found out that when you're conducting class discussions, quite often the young ladies initiate the discussion better than the young men, and that was one of the reasons why I didn't want to leave Southeastern, because I had young men and young women in my class that I was teaching with Ben Piper, my most recent team teacher. But I have found at Douglass that the kids do very well in discussion, and now I found that they're doing well in poetry. But ask Dr. White that question again.
Let me ask you after I do the little
oh yes, yeah.
So you're watching the John Telford Detroit Show, coming to you live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Please like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe to us. And thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. And today we're interviewing Dr. Willie White, principal of the All Boys Academy, Frederick Douglass. And we were just about to ask, what is the magic of working with boys?
Well, the thing about it is, what Dr. Telford said. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it feels very Du Boisian to me. Because
you mean it as in W.E.B. Du Bois?
Yeah,
okay.
Du Bois always said, "Don't forget about our boys," and that's really what our education did. It forgot about our boys.
And and the thing about it is, it's interesting that Dr. Telford said that most boys wouldn't, and that's what we work on. we work on them being self-advocates and learning how to speak for themselves. And that's one of our models as well. Think for yourself, use your own mind. To question, the highest form of intellect is inquiry. They question me, so they can say why. And when they say why, that they want an explanation, and they want a legitimate explanation, and they want one that will benefit them, or if it's to their detriment, they could deliberate as to why it's to their detriment. And so the uniqueness of it is that you teach them the process of transitioning into their self-actualizing, and so they don't have the distraction of the girl. And the girl is distracting. I can think in terms of when I was that age as well, but we have a sister school, and when we interact with them, they're excited about that. When we have our parties and that sort of thing. And
what is the sister school?
Detroit International Academy for Young Ladies. They just relocated. They call it DIA. They just relocated it from Northern on the east side. I don't have the address offhand, but they just relocated it.
Wow.
Yeah, it wasn't the old Northern High School. Yeah,
for a long time.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, let me ask you this. What are the top 3 highlights for families who are interested in Douglas? This is a question that the lady downtown, who's running your publicity department, wanted us to ask. Crystal Wilson, she wanted us to ask that, the assistant superintendent for publicity. What are the top 3 highlights for families who are interested in Douglas Academy?
I think we answered it, but I'll go on it again. We had those small class size. I think Dr. Vitti doesn't want the school to go beyond 200 students. He wants to keep it small so that we can maintain that, because most of our students have individual plans. We work with them.
That's a good idea. Okay, 200 max then. You're talking 200 max.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one of the 3 highlights. What are the other 2?
Developing the whole child. What we talked about as well. With this smaller class, we can develop the whole child by having those individual plans. Help that whole child through a number of things by thinking in terms of their social, educational development as well. And then our four pathway that leads to a career. Actually, when they're done with that, they get a career in GIS, Geographic Information System, without going to college if they meet certain certifications. But we prefer they go to college, but not all the students want to go to college, and some of them can go on and get a career immediately after that. But I always advocate education, but again, they think for themselves. And with that 4-year GIS career pathway, they could actually receive a job that pays like $60,000 coming out of high school.
As a parent of 2 boys, I got to say, experientially, my 3 highlights of visiting your school, Dr. White, is that number 1, it is about all boys, which does make boys. The fact that you have a robust and competitive sports program, something that a lot of our boys are missing in their educational experience, and just the fact that you have a piece in the expectation that kids will eventually go on to college. Those are the 3 things to me as a parent, which make me take the school very, very seriously as a source of opportunity for our city.
And thank you, Dr. Carrada, that you bring that up. One of the things they always advocate, the team say, Doc, why don't you ever mention our sports? Like, all too often, like we're having our African-American history right now that we'll have at 11 o'clock. We have calm classroom every day where we all come together and we breathe. We learn different breathing techniques. And as I said before, if the students have something they want to advocate about, or they have something they want to deliberate about, it could be beneficial or detrimental, they're allowed to do that in that form. But one of the things we talk about in that calm classroom is, just and the boys, it's just so much. The boys want to talk about sports, and I tell them, in this Black history, no athletes. I want you to talk about something else. And we'll talk about, because I know you know about Jordan. I know you know about all these people. I want you to research some different people, to show them that there's other avenues to success. And so I appreciate that. And when you mention our sports, we have more state champion coaches in one school than any other school. We have Coach Lynch, Coach Robert Lynch, who everyone knows is a legend.
Oh yeah, I know Robert Lynch. He coached some track teams that were incredible.
Yeah, he was also my coach, and he was Dr. Tiller's coach. We were children at Motor City High School with me. And we have Coach Brooks, who won a state champion in football. Coach Lynch, I believe, won over with DePorres and Mufford, Oak Park. And this year, we're going to win a state championship in track this year. That's me just calling it like it is. He's he's won like 12 state championships.
If you want me to talk to any of your track kids, particularly your sprinters, that's what I was on the national team. So I'd be more than happy.
That'd be great.
I'm on a cane now. I can't run with them. I used to be able to run with my kids when I was coaching at Southeastern and Finney and Pershing and King, and Southwestern. But I can't do that anymore. But I would be real happy to talk to your kids. Go ahead.
So I kind of want to ask a logistical question because we know DPS, I'm sorry, I love my city, but it's the lowest performing system in the country right now. And yet you're graduating kids at 95% with a historically low literacy rate. I know you were talking about coming up with individuated plans of instruction for these kids. Can you tell me how you get kids from a city that's crumbling in terms of literacy and get them to graduate the way you are? What is it about what your school does that keeps them engaged, makes them literate, and makes them into young men?
Well, I think the small class side has a lot to do with it. That's first. That's the first thing, the small class, the people that you have in front of them. We have a great group of teachers. If you look at it, if you go on my school data too, you'll see that when I first got here, the turnover rate, the teacher retention rate went down. But then when I got a certain group of teachers, been here now, our retention rate has been stable, and that's because now we have people who are committed to what we're doing. Because we're small, I always put the onus on us as if the children are failing, that means we're failing as educators. And so we have to focus on them. The main thing is focusing on the children and knowing that, again, when you meet them where they are, that individual lesson plan. When you meet them or development plan, when you meet they are and don't leave them there, the mindset has to be, if a child is reading come to you and he's reading at a third grade level, 9 months later, that child should read at least at a third grade 9 months, at least. You follow what I'm saying? So that's our mindset, growth mindset. It's a growth mindset and not a deficit mindset. It's intolerable to hear someone say, well, he coming to me with a third grade level, so he shouldn't leave you with a third grade level. And so that's the mindset we have with our young men. And they feel it. They know the love. Every day, it's either myself, unless I'm at a staff meeting, or Mr. Davis or Mr. Martin stand outside to meet the children every day. So we don't have our suspension rate isn't high because if I have a conversation about a parent, I'm already outside. So I can see the parent when she drops the child off or when he drops the child off. So you don't have to miss work. I can meet you at your car and say, Robert is doing this in school and that in school and that school. And so that's what we pride ourselves on too, because on the first day of school in many schools, you see all these people out here giving them high five, and then you don't see them the rest of the school year. Well, our kids see us every day, either myself or one of the other persons. Most of the time it's me.
And stability and continuity that you mentioned is very, very important in a staff. And you've established that now, and I think that's definitely part of the battle, part of winning the battle. What you've done with the continuity, just keeping a stable staff there.
Yes.
And I commend you for that. Yeah, go ahead.
So what have been kind of like some of the battles for reaching out to these kids during COVID? You know what I mean? Like in terms of technology, do parents have appropriate technology at home? If they don't, how did you go through this last lockdown? How were you? How were the kids? How were the faculty?
Well, I think what Dr. Vitti put in place was effective as far as the loaner devices and things like that went
Mm.
well. We didn't have any issue. If you look at our attendance rate our attendance rate is one of the highest in the district. So
Even
the
though you went
initiatives that he
online,
put,
even though you went online, you were able to sustain your attendance the whole time.
yes, and one of the things about us too, again, I have a great attendance agent, Coach Shahi,
Mm.
Salim Shahi, and I got to mention since you said sports, he also won 2 state titles as a basketball at
Wow.
Detroit City when he was at City. So you have these mentality of people who are accustomed to winning, and so you apply that in the he applies that in the attendance as well. Coach Shahi is one of the persons go to the house. You know, he makes home visits. Hey doc, he's come to me. This child may need some assistance. I went to his home. His home condition is like this. We need to contact the state of Michigan so that we can get some food stamps, so we can get this. And we've done that just by him making home visits. So I guess that segue into that
A lot of
whole
these
child.
things that you're doing go beyond the professional protocol. I mean, these are really personal efforts that you and your staff are making out, engaging the community and the kids. Just for them to stay online is crazy. I mean, it's very hard for students to, and for them to stay online, have their attendance at a time when the building is closed, just shows that they've learned commitment right back. And so I really commend that for such a small jewel of a school.
Well, that's what education is about. Educator is not a job; it's a mission. I mean, and if you don't understand that, go and sell
Mhm.
whirly-bird helicopters on the street corner or something. Don't become a teacher. But I wanted to commend your coach Shahi too, and also your coach Lynch for all the things that they have been doing. And it's just wonderful that your athletes are doing and progressing as well as they have been doing, because say it, like it or not, sports are one of the
Yeah,
things that keeps kids in school.
that's right.
They kept me in school years ago, and many of the kids that I coached over the
Yeah.
years, they kept in school. And you've got Coach Shahi, you've got Coach Lynch, and you've got well, we've got a superintendent who was a jock. I mean, he was a defensive back for Wake Forest, and we've got your guy Claude Tiller, who supervises the high school principals, popped off the mile relay at the University of Michigan that broke the record of a kid that I had on the previous record-setting relay team at the University of Michigan. That was Reggie Bradford. And if Dr. Tiller had come on the show today, I was going to share with him some track poetry. I might do it anyway. We got time at the end of the show, but that's a very important part of keeping kids in school, is the athletic program. I mean, there are some kids who aren't athletes. We recognize that, but for those who are, uh, that's a program that does increase attendance and gets kids to graduate.
And an important part of keeping young men in school is having men in school. So much of research shows that the academic environment has been feminized, that a lot of boys feel alienated, and not in a good or bad way, but still most teachers tend to be women. So when you have a strong male leadership roles, several of them, all in one school, I could see where the boys would come to trust that school.
And we've also got to say it, I mean, there are many young men in the city of Detroit who do not have a father in the home. So a strong male personality in the school is essential. And I'm not only talking about high schools, I'm talking K through 12.
Reforms have displaced a lot of powerful men in education. So it's amazing that these islands are starting to come back around for our boys. I was going to ask you a question. I'm so sorry, Dr. White, but let me do this real fast. You're watching the John Telford Detroit Show, coming to you live, streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Please like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe to us. And thank you for watching WJZC Cool TV,
Okay, go ahead.
the coolest station in the world. And we are interviewing
Dr. Willie White, the principal of Frederick Douglass Academy in Detroit. And before you ask him the question
Yes.
you're going to ask him,
Yes.
I have to get this in.
Yes.
Virginia Starkey, fondly known as V, the proprietress of V's Boutique, offers a wide range of fine clothing and accessories for ladies. You can find all sizes of women's fine apparel in V's one-stop excellent customer service at V's Boutique that you can't find anywhere else in Detroit anymore. V's is at 16423 East Warren Avenue. 16423 East Warren Avenue. That's right around the corner from the Alger Theater and right around the corner from one of the libraries that's still functioning. You know, we've got 6 functional libraries out in the community now, whereas 21 of them have been closed. So we've got to get those libraries open again. You know, I did apply for the library board. I had a notion I wasn't going to get chosen, and I didn't, which is just as well, because that enables me to run for the school board again. But go ahead and ask.
So this is going to be an autobiographical question, kind of, that brings us back. I mean, you're obviously brilliant. You're doctor. You could have gone anywhere. You could have had a cushy job. What is it? I'm not just talking about phenotype, about being a strong Black male leader, an academic, an athlete. What brings you to DPS? What brings the kids to you? What's the importance of leaders like you in our school system?
One of the things I was a student that was on the exposing track. Dr. Tiller and we ran track together too. We took 3rd in the nation in the Junior Olympics at the Nationals in that same mile relay. But I was a student.
God bless.
You remember
Lynch was our coach as well, but I was also one of those students who would get in trouble so much. And where was that? I was at Murray Wright High School. As a matter of fact, I couldn't go to Cass.
When you ran with Tiller, where were you when you ran with Tiller?
I was at Murray. He was at DePorres.
When he was at DePorres, he won the state championship in the quarter mile. I know that.
Yes,
and then
yes.
He came to
and I was
in
there. You know, that year I ran like 38 in the 300 hurdles, and a guy from Jackson went 35 on us. I don't know if you remember him.
Well, 35, I think, would be approaching a world record, although they don't have that.
He went 35. I'm telling you, that was the low hurdles, though. It was the low ones before they switched over.
But y'all see what I'm saying? This is like almost like a kinship network that y'all got going. Could you explain the importance of this kinship through blood and bone and sport? And I wish I could be part of this. I'm just jealous.
It's a lifelong kinship. You know, my best friends were my teammates, and you know, when I was at Wayne State, we had relay teams that were beating Michigan State, where we won the Penn relays, the Ohio relays. But these guys, after we were out of school, we just hung together. And we were together for 52 years. Cliff Hatcher was a great quarter miler out of Detroit Central, was my best friend for 52 years. That's the way it is with athletes and athletics. You know, it becomes a brotherhood.
So how did the two of you turn to education then? I mean, you're on the top. You could have done anything.
But that's funny though. I'm just thinking in terms of the influence. I remember my master's actually I was working in health administration at first. I was working at U of M Hospital, and I didn't like the situation. You know, I got an undergrad in health administration, a master in public administration, and I called Coach Lynch. I mean, because of that relationship, I said, "Hey, Coach, you know, I don't like what he said. Well, come." He said, "Willie, this was like '91. Come help me. You start being a substitute teacher, and you can help me coach at Mumford." And I started substitute teaching, and I got a teacher's kit.
My story is similar. Yeah, my story is similar. You know, I was an English major at Wayne State, and during my junior year in 1956, I had a couple of free days, so I went out and substitute taught in DPS, because you could do that then if you had junior status in a college. And I was having such a good time that I took a teaching certificate. But I think many folks have similar stories. As I have said, teaching is not a job. It is a crusade. It is a dedication that you have to give to life. That's what it is. You know, Dr. White, I got one last question that I think Crystal Wilson wanted me to. Well, no, I didn't cover contact information or the next date of information session. The next date of an information session before enrollment. Is there a date in an information session?
Well, we're going to post that. We're going to post. It's going to be posted on our website, our next open house. But again, they can call us anytime, and they can reach them at DetroitK12.org. That's Douglas. That's our website, and they can call us anytime. And if they have any questions regarding that 595-3550, 313 area code. And if you want to stop by and visit, we're open to you stopping by and visit. We have that family network, or where it can come in here, that family atmosphere. If you have any questions.
Willie, we're red light.
Wait, it's okay. We got the time. It's saying we got a few minutes left.
We got a few minutes left. Okay. You know, how much do the how much do the kids know about Frederick Douglass? I want to ask you that question.
You mean kids here or kids outside? And that's the thing. I just want everyone to know.
Kids at Frederick Douglass Academy, what do they know about it?
Oh, they know everything about it. I mean, most of the time, this is where we get our students from. Besides us recruiting and going, it's by word of mouth. They tell their cousins and everything. Like, we just admitted 2 more young men, and I ask them all the time. I said, well, how are you coming here? He said, well, Fred told me about this school. You know, you hear that all the time. Well, Robert told me about you, or told us about how you guys are going to help us graduate. And only thing they said, we got to wear ties. You know, that's the only thing they ever say. But we have to wear ties, but we don't have to wear them on Friday. So, you know, that's the only thing they ever say is we got to wear ties. But, you know, it's teaching them
discipline. Boys complaining about dressing up, that's a good thing.
You know, yeah. Frederick Douglass met with Seymour Finney right here in Detroit before the Civil War. He met with Seymour Finney. And Seymour Finney.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Seymour Finney was the guy that named Finney High School after, you know, because he was an abolitionist. You know, he used to row slaves across the river to freedom. He harbored them in his barn, and at midnight he'd row them across the Detroit River to Canada. And these are things that everybody needs to know. I wish that they would change East English Village back to Finney. I wish they put that name.
Did you know, Doc? Did you know that Seymour Finney also, he had his, I think it was a hotel or a bed, bath and breakfast, and he would hide the same slave catchers, and they would not know that they'd be sleeping above the hidden slaves.
That's funny. I love it. You know, I think we're just about out of time. Yeah. But we want to thank Dr. Willie White for coming on the John Telford Detroit show today.
And you got to come back, Dr. White. There's just so much more to explore. I mean, we were just cursory topics right now. There's just so much intense work going on in that school. And my hat's off. I have just so much dreams and confidence in what's going on with y'all over there. I can't wait to be back there.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And
thank you for having me.
God bless you.
All right, bye now.
And listening to the John Telford Detroit Show with Dr. John Telford and co-host Dr. Sananda Samadar Corrado on WJZZ Cool TV on Wednesdays from 10 to 11 in the morning, streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. It was the late, great Dr. Wayne Dyer who said, Dr. John Telford has a warrior's heart and a poet's soul. Listen also to Dr. Telford on WCHB AM 1340, Saturday mornings at 9:30 and Monday evenings at 6:30. And please tune in again next time, Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock. And thank you for listening.
That was a good show.
It was.
I was worried about it because all the stuff we had to go through today, but it was good. It was good. Now I'm taking you guys over to Sinbad's, man.
I don't know why.
No, listen, he took off today. I got to take my hat off to him for doing it. Yeah, he took off. Give him credit for doing that.
He wouldn't even be in his position.
Well, he took off.
He has always taken off. Do you know who the Shot News is?
I've talked to that guy one time or another. He's kind of arrogant.